Hello and welcome to Addis Dialogue. I am Asgedom Atnafu. The notion for today's dialogue is tourism, particularly in Ethiopia. Joining me here in the studio are Ndinyana Hashafa, right, and private tour guide and operator, and Afork Saifu, freelance tour guide. They are both here to talk to me about the challenges and the opportunities of tourism in this country. Gentlemen, it is really good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's just start with first question of mine. The very first simple question is, since you guys have spent considerable amount of years in Ethiopian tourism, give me reasons why anybody has to come to Ethiopia and pay a visit and spend some time. May I start with you?
Yeah. So as to me, everybody's coming to Ethiopia because it's the origin of humankind, the land of origin. As a human being, you need to explore where human being is originated from. So Ethiopia is the right place for that. And as well as Ethiopia is endowed with many heritage, like rich culture, rich history, and remarkable biodiversity, the flora, the fauna, and as well as the indigenous tribes, where you can find nowhere in the world, very indigenous, and as well as a diverse wild animals. So we have a privilege to be visited as a #1 country, and tourists are coming for that sake. I think so.
Interesting. East Africa, I think, is really one of the top tourist destinations in the world.
Yeah.
That I get it. And we have potential competitors in the region. You
Yeah.
can take Kenya, Tanzania,
Yeah.
and in other countries in the region. But particularly, are there certain features that stands out really distinctive that belong to this country and that makes the country a little different from these other tourist destinations in the region?
Yeah, the thing that makes Ethiopia very different is we have everything. For instance, if you go to Kenya or Tanzania, you can find only the safari or a single tribe. But Ethiopia has contained many different things. From the upper of Ethiopia, you can find a very long time history, start from the time of Queen Sheba. So we are the country of 3,000 years history, 1000 AD and 2000 BC. And as well as we have the wild animals and the nature. You can find the most incredible adventure in the world, the so-called in the place called Afar, which is very spectacular, very different. You cannot find the living volcanic lava anywhere in the continent. Of course, the Congo, they have got the volcanic lava, but we have a lot of different features that combine every desire of the tourist, the nature, the adventure, the flora and fauna, everything. So that's how we are different from Kenya or Tanzania.
And nowadays, more than 1 billion tourists are traveling all over the world, and they're trying to looking for exotic place for their visit. So they want to see Ethiopia as one of their core destination because of these reasons, I think.
I want you to talk about the mindset that your tourists come here. When they first meet you, what's the perception they have of this country? And then when they go back, do they really go back with a different mindset? Let's talk about that particular mindset when they come and then when they go back.
Absolutely. They come with the bad image. The tourists who already came, their image was so bad, and they come here, they change their mind, set up, and they persuade, convince their friends who are there, and they tell them that go back and discover. So when they come and discover, the reality is different. The impression is very different. So that is one of, I think, our promotional thing that tourists are now flowing. It is like oral promotion that makes the tourism to flow to Ethiopia. It's due to the change of impression.
So the mindset, you talked about it. So tourists that have come here, when they go back, they spread the good words, the good experiences that they have. At least what they have witnessed here is a whole lot different from what they have heard on Western media. So speaking of that mindset, if there is anything you'd like to add.
Yeah. From the beginning, the good impression starts from the airport, our airport. As a part of Ethiopian tourism industry, I am so proud of Ethiopian Airlines on their progress. So they got surprised on their arrival. Is this your airport?
Okay.
And we answer proudly, yes, it's ours. So as my friend said, the bad impression, the bad image was created years ago. By the way, personally, I oppose a concert like I personally respect Sir Bib Geldof.
Bob Geldof.
Yeah, but however, that concert promoted Ethiopia in a bad way. Many people remember that concert about our drought and our famine.
I
Yeah.
personally don't think there is anything wrong with the concert because the time was a very critical time.
Yeah.
The country needed some help.
Yep.
And what Sir Bob Geldof did at the time was there's a country in need of your support, in need of your help.
Exactly.
And who are these people? Those starved kids. You know, like in order to get the money out of their pockets, probably he may have exaggerated what was happening in this country, or he may have kept it real.
Yeah.
But at that time, what was done, I think, is just really, to me, that was really a right thing to do. But what we failed to do is to communicate the changes, the progress made afterwards.
Yeah, of course, I am so positive what he has done for us, the right thing by the time. But just to let you know, still, that concert is on people's mind, and that's how they perceive about Ethiopia. Still the country of drought. It's not a war or terrorism, but it's drought. So when tourists come here, totally they got surprised by our infrastructure, by our people smile, you know. They don't think the people smile here.
Okay.
But we Ethiopian are a very smiling people. We are a very friendly people. So for me, yes, I accept that one, but that concert promotes our family till yet. That's my problem. But I still positive for Sir Bigilov and
His
his job. Yeah.
contributions. But now when we talk about numbers of tourists, you said earlier like about 1 billion of people worldwide travel under the name of tourism. Now let's talk about Ethiopia's share. Are we really taking the share, our own fair share? Are we taking that? Do you feel that way? I think that shows that Ethiopia is not making as much as it has to make out of it. So what are the challenges that we're facing because of those challenges that we're not making as much use of our natural and historical endowments? What are really the setbacks? Let's talk about it, and then we can really forward some solutions as regard to that.
Yeah. According to my little survey, I think our trips are very expensive than any other African countries' trips. So, for instance, if you take Egypt, they have a lot of tourists, and they are regarded as one of the top touristic destinations in Africa. They have the cheapest package price in Africa. So I suggest our hotels should give a discounted rate for tourists, and also I suggest for Ethiopian Airlines to promote the domestic flights by giving a discount. Hotel room rates in Ethiopia, especially in Addis Ababa, they are quite expensive. Even when tourists book their trip by the tour operator, we give them the discount rate because we have a special agreement with the hotels, and the hotels give us a discounted rate. Even that is too expensive for the tourists.
Do they say so? Do they tell you it's
Yeah,
expensive?
yeah. That's from my
Is it
survey.
expensive we can't afford it, or it is expensive for the service that you offer?
Yes, the service that you offer, that we offer,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
expensive.
Okay. So I think, what do you say? Instead of cutting the price down,
Yeah.
probably we should give proper services.
Yeah.
And as long as you offer proper services, maybe even the top class tourists may consider coming here, really. So as far as infrastructure goes, really, let's talk about what a government has to do, really. And the government really places a whole lot of trust on the tourism sector to help its poverty reduction strategies and programs. And the government and the top officials, they know and they understand and how much of a resource that tourism in this country is. Understanding it is one thing, but facilitating and making it easy for tourists to come and have the best time possible is completely another thing. In terms of discharging their responsibilities, how much further do you think have they traveled so far, and what is really the remaining distance that we have to cover?
Though the government and the stakeholders are striving their best, but there are things which lies in the ground, which is becoming a problem, a challenge for the industry. In particularly, let me say it, local, sectors like the guide associations in the local area, the local tourism office are not patrolling the associations, because in the middle of the year they can put increment on the price of the guiding fee instantly without notice. We made a package, we send the package to our clients. In the middle of the year, the price is changed. It makes fluctuation.
After the client is here,
Yeah.
there he says a different figure.
Yes.
And it is this is small associations that are doing this.
Yes.
Okay.
This has to be checked by the authorities.
Definitely, yes.
Otherwise, it brings fluctuation in the prices.
And there's a credibility issue as well.
Yes, I agree with the idea of my friend. Ethiopia is becoming one of the expensive destinations. The prices are determined by individuals. Number of individuals gather together and they decide the price, and then that price will increase time after time, and we put it in a package, and the package become expensive.
Nice.
So, what the tourism commission, culture and tourism minister, has to do is has to patrol each and every, especially in the area of this pricing. It affects, a penny can affect
Yes,
a package.
your entire business.
Yes.
Now let me take you to another concern, and I'm just going to take you now to tribal communities. I'm just going to take you to the Omo Valley, right? So that is where you go and probably meet with so-called probably primitive type of societies. There you have people still walking naked, and great proportion of their body really bare, and still wearing animal skins. And these areas are really interesting areas for any tourist coming from the Western world, and they love to pay attention. They love to see this, have first-hand experience, because there is nothing like it in the part of the world where these people live. But the ethical issue is that, no, we don't have to do this really, and we just have to help these people become like the rest of us really. We need to build them different infrastructures. We need to build them houses and schools so that they could be somehow modern and civilized like the rest of us. We don't have to keep them there as a human zoo, and then we bring people to visit them and then make cash out of them. So ethically, that is wrong. And another concern is that these communities are becoming gradually from time to time dependent on income elicited from tourists. Like they charge for a single picture to be taken, and they sell the different artifacts and everything. So we're somehow affecting, like the fabric of those communities because of tourism. Of course, the country is making money out of it. But we are really, really impacting these people negatively. Maybe in the long run, there may not be such thing as tribal communities in its original sense. Is it a concern that you share?
Yeah.
Or what's your view on that?
Yes, of course, it's my big concern, especially because of the growing of the tourist flow to those areas, the tribal areas. Every time those tribes are getting ready themselves for photo shot and for tourist business, for tourism business. But beyond to that, my biggest fear is we are practicing fake tourism.
Fake tourism.
Fake tourism.
What
yeah.
does that mean?
It means, for instance, the tribes, they have their own ritual activities, like body painting and some festivals, or scarification stuff. The body painting, it's seasonal, you know, just whenever they have a ceremony, they do the painting, the body painting. So, for instance, in the tribe called Kara or Karo, the people, they put themselves painted on stuff from early morning because they are expecting tourists are coming. So they take it as their main business. All the day they are painted, you know, with the with different colors.
But that's not how it used to happen
Yes,
before.
yes.
There's a
Of
certain
course,
time
that's
in the
their
year.
culture. That's their ritual activity. But they do it
Out of
occasionally.
season.
Yes, seasonally, when they want to do it. The negative thing is that the fake thing, you know, the fake thing they are showing us when we take tourists to them.
Nice.
And also we have to be responsible as a guide, and as well as tour operators should be responsible how to benefit those tribes, because much of the money is going to the tour operator, to the guide, and to the other people, but not the host community. So the host community is privileged to get the tourism benefit like we do. So I think they are not getting the right benefit to. So
Out of all
at
that.
this regard, I want
Uh-huh.
to point out
This one.
idea. Yeah.
That's interesting. Let me take it to you. As far as these people are concerned, so what better option do we have? Well, one thing you can't help from happening is change. Change really occurs whether you
Yes.
like it or not. Everything is in constant motion and
Yes,
change.
inevitable.
So yes, inevitable. So these people, there is no way they would remain as they have been for probably, I don't know, hundreds of years. So what is the perception there? Like, do you really, guys, do you want them to remain the way they are? And you don't want them to change at all, so that we could make some cash out of it?
The Lower Omo Valley tribes, some writers call them the lost tribes, due to the change, you know, dramatic change. I've seen a very dramatic change in the last 5 years with regard to change in way of life in Omo Valley, due to one thing is coming of tourists, plus two infrastructures, and people from the rural area coming and working in these local areas, one way and the other. They're, you know, making them change through time. They're changing, like the way they dress has been changing. Okay, they dress, that's good, but it is not their culture. And culturally, it's like in Hammer, that is a humid place. Usually, they don't wear because
They're topless
environment-
mostly.
Yeah, topless. During the ritual ceremonies, they used to be wet. Women especially, they devote themselves for the young men who's gonna leave the bull, so they give their back and hit. By the time when tourists see
Come
that,
and see that?
yes,
They see a woman
so many
being
times.
tortured, and that doesn't appeal to the Western mindset.
would affect, but it is their indigenous culture. It is the way they live before the tourists came.
So that's the dilemma. So, I mean, for the tourists' sake, for money we make out of it, so what are you saying? We have to keep watching women being flogged, or that has to change?
I'm not saying I don't have to interfere in the
Uh-huh.
affair of the
Uh-huh.
culture of the
So when
local
it changes,
society.
it changes.
When it changes,
It
it
changes.
should come from
Nice.
inside out.
But all you have to do is you just simply go and watch and witness firsthand. Don't affect the existing situation.
Exactly. Even I tell to my clients, just seriously, they don't have to interfere. They don't have to give anything except for the entrances that I do, clothes and things like that. I don't have to
But
promote.
what does that mean as a country? I mean, like, you have a country in which people still get flogged, and the country considers it as a tourist destination. So do you think that's morally all right? Do we really have to take tourists to that site, you know, where people are
When
really...
you say morally right or wrong, in which perspective? In your perspective? or-
globally speaking, anybody getting flogged
But
anywhere
in a-
is wrong.
In a Hammer perspective, that's
Yes.
not morally wrong for themselves. When we see in our eyes, it's wrong, morally wrong, but for them it's not wrong. It is ritual. It's a day-to-day life. It is the way they live. They used to live it. Still, they are living it.
Nice, but don't you think, like, the so-called educated ones, the so-called modern ones, we just have to share some of our values, that people, especially women, do not have to be treated that way. Maybe there could be another ritual where people get killed. You understand me? So the
Yeah.
question is, do you either like you keep it that way because you think that's their culture, or before you take tourists to pay a visit to these kinds of rituals, maybe you just have to educate these people, and then probably they could, maybe that is where a fake tourism is necessary. You don't actually kill the person, but you act like you do it. Maybe you tell your tourists that's the way you used to do it. Maybe.
No, prior to our arrival to that destination, I tell them that they don't have to interfere in their culture.
Yes.
That is the way they live it before these people, before I came. You know, this is it's a culture. It's intact with themselves. It's difficult. It's undetachable.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's very difficult.
But I understand. The integrity is interesting.
Yeah.
You stay aside and watch the whole thing happen in its own natural way. And if it has to change, it has to change naturally. That's, I think, a very good point to take. Anyways, now, let me take you now to this last point of mine. We're coming now to the end of our discussion. What it is I want you to talk about at the end is that take one particular area in this country, which is your favorite place, and it does not matter how many times you've been to, but it still feels new to you, and it is really an amazing place that you suggest anybody to go and see it. Tell me that particular site, or tell me that particular place, or it could be any historical fact or intangible heritage. Tell me about it briefly, about this particular tourist site, and you are recommending it for me and for the people watching anywhere in the world, both in the country and outside.
As
Then
for
I come
me,
to you, yes.
Lalibela is one of the biblical amazing
Nice.
place to visit.
So maybe
The
tell me
Lebanon
something
Rockwell
I
Church.
haven't heard about it, like one particular thing that really makes this site an amazing site, or
You
what
know,
amazes you personally.
Assume a big block of rock cuts and form a structure underneath the ground. You know, like 15 up to 12 up to 15 meters. Let's take, for instance, Beta Georgis, a house of St. George, is like a cruciform church, which is cut totally detached from its mother rock. It's a monolithic rock-hewn church. It is freely standing without pillar, 15 meters high. And to see up from where you stand down, it feels like it's something awkward in an amazing way. The architecture dates back to the 13th century, 900 years old structure, which is built under the ground,
Downward.
underground, where Europeans were
Building
building
everything
above
upward,
the ground.
yes.
Our people shows amazing knowledge of architecture, building church underneath the ground. It is, a rock is a tufa rock,
Nice.
volcanic rock, which is cut and form a structure, which
Interesting.
takes my breath away. Every time I go there, it's new to me.
Nice.
In addition to that,
Interesting.
Seven Mountains.
One is all I give you. Yes, you go. We're about to finish. Yes.
Only one?
One
Alright.
particular site, your best site.
All right. So my friend picked up
Lalibela.
Lalibela. Of course, it is mine too. But let me suggest to you the most beautiful scenery in the world. It is called Seven Mountains National Park.
Nice. So he's going
For-
to talk about it.
Yeah,
Okay, then,
for
yeah.
Ethiopians, I suggest them to trek for 7 days in that park to reach at the peak Ras Dajan or Ras Dajan. It's the most spectacular area. You can see the endemic walia ibex, the Ethiopian wolves, and so many endemic birds. I think if you go there and trek for a couple of days, you will get in touch with nature directly. I mean, it's so spectacular.
Nice.
And of course, Afar too.
Nice.
Afar, it's gonna be
Okay, I know, like, we're not going to mention each and every beautiful places in the country. Anyways, it's been a pleasure having you guys here, and that was really a very interesting discussion that I had with you. I'll take the suggestions more. Probably next time I'll pack up and go to these places that you guys have mentioned. And thank you very much. That's it then. That does it for today's Addis Dialogue. So we're going to have to see you another time, and yet with another issue. Until then, you take care.